Let me take you back, way back, to the ancient hills of Israel. Picture the sun rising over rolling pastures, the earth still dewy from the night before, and a boy with a staff in hand, walking among a flock of sheep. His name was David. David wasn't born into royalty. He wasn't trained as a warrior. He wasn't even the firstborn in his family. In fact, he was the youngest of 8 brothers. He lived in the quiet town of Bethlehem, far from palaces and battlefields. His world was hills and streams, sheep and song. But what made David stand out was not his strength or his position. It was his heart. Out in those pastures, David learned how to protect. When a lion or a bear came to steal a sheep, David didn't run. He fought. Not with swords or spears, but with courage, and with trust in the God he prayed to every night. When David wasn't guarding his flock, he played the harp. He'd sing psalms, poems, and prayers from his soul. His songs spoke of awe for the stars, of longing for justice, of joy in God's presence. Imagine him under the night sky, plucking the strings, his voice rising like incense. He wasn't just a shepherd, he was a worshiper, and God saw that heart. While others looked at David and saw a boy, God looked and saw a king. David's days were simple, but they were anything but meaningless. Every moment in the field taught him something: how to listen, how to be patient, how to sense danger and act with courage, how to depend on God when no one else was around. That kind of training doesn't happen in a palace, it happens in the wilderness. He learned leadership in obscurity. He learned discipline in solitude. He learned obedience in the little things. Long before anyone knew his name, David was building the kind of character that could carry a crown. David also carried a sense of purpose, though he didn't fully understand it yet. Sometimes God puts greatness in us before we even know why we were chosen. It's planted in the quiet places, watered by faith, and grows in the soil of unseen battles. David's calling was taking root. He lived a life of rhythm, feeding the sheep, finding pasture, watching the stars, and all the while God was shaping him, not for comfort, but for courage, not for ease, but for endurance. And when David walked the hills with his sheep, he was unknowingly walking with God. When he sang into the wind, heaven was listening. When he stood before wild beasts, he was being prepared to face a far more terrifying enemy. Every trial was a test, every quiet hour a time of growth. Meanwhile, Israel was facing a growing threat. The Philistines had marched in, ruthless, relentless, and ready for war. 2 armies faced each other from opposing hills, with the valley of Elah between them. And every morning, from the Philistine side, a giant stepped forward. Goliath, 9 feet tall, wrapped in bronze armor, carrying weapons fit for 3 men. His words cut through the air like a blade.
"Send a man to fight me," he bellowed. "If he wins, we serve you. If I win, you serve us."
40 days, morning and evening, the same challenge. And still no one in Israel dared to respond. Not one, not even Saul, the king who had once stood head and shoulders above the rest, could muster the courage. The fear spread like a virus. Even the bravest warriors stayed silent. The enemy's voice became a soundtrack of intimidation, echoing through the hills and into the hearts of the men. Back in Bethlehem, David's world was quiet, steady. He rose early, fed the sheep, listened to the wind, and sang to his God. But one morning, Jesse, his father, called him in.
"Take this food to your brothers," he said. "See how they're doing."
David obeyed, unaware that he was walking into a battlefield and into history. When he arrived, the army was frozen. Goliath stood taunting, and the men of Israel trembled. But David saw something different. Where others saw a giant, he saw an opportunity. Where others felt fear, he felt faith rising.
"Who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?"
Laughter, mockery, even his brothers were furious.
"Go home, you don't belong here."
But David didn't back down. He asked again. He insisted, and word spread until it reached the ears of Saul. Now picture this, a teenage boy standing before a war-weary king saying,
"Let no one lose heart, I'll fight him."
"You can't, you're just a boy."
But David answered with stories, not of training or might, but of faith.
"I fought off lions, I fought off bears. The Lord delivered me before, he will deliver me now."
And Saul, unsure but desperate, agreed. They tried to dress David in royal armor, but it didn't fit. He couldn't walk in it. He took it off and went instead with what he knew, a sling, a staff, and 5 smooth stones. Down into the valley he went.
"Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?"
"You come with sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord. This day he will deliver you into my hands."
The moment slowed. One stone, one shot, one act of faith, and the giant fell. David stood over the fallen warrior, the valley echoing with silence. Then came the roar. The Israelites surged forward. The Philistines ran. But David's victory was never about the stone. It was about the heart behind it. That day, the world saw a boy defeat a giant. But heaven saw something even greater. A heart surrendered, a life aligned with God's will. This wasn't the end of David's journey. It was only the beginning. He would go on to slay more giants, fight in more battles, and write psalms that would comfort generations. He would also stumble, fall, sin, repent. But through it all, David remained a man after God's own heart. So what do we learn from this story? We learn that faith is louder than fear, that obedience is more powerful than appearance, that even the smallest step, when taken in trust, can shake the ground. You have giants, we all do. They may not wear armor, but they shout just as loud. Fear, shame, addiction, doubt, guilt, sickness, insecurity. But the same God who stood with David stands with you. The question is, will you step into the valley? You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to say, "Here I am, Lord. Use me." So let your faith rise. Let your hands steady. Let your heart sing songs to the same God who called a shepherd to be a king. We hope you enjoyed the story of David and Goliath. If it inspired you, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel Throne and Kingdom. More timeless stories await you here, where faith meets storytelling and the past lights the way for the present. Stay brave, stay faithful, and keep walking forward, stone in hand, eyes on God.